What's up, guys? Ruppy here, and welcome to Playoffs. I bet you weren't expecting me to say those words. And to be perfectly honest, I was not expecting to say them either. I know what you're seeing on screen right now isn't exactly a normal way to begin videos like this, but I figured before we get into the team builder portion of this video, I would go ahead and lay out the exact scenario that played out, because I'll be perfectly honest, heading into the final week, somehow I still had a chance at playoffs, which in and of itself baffled me, because I swore the losing streak I was on heading into the final week was basically the nail in the coffin for me. And yet, here I was, heading into week 12, with a chance, but I admittedly had the absolute longest shot of making this work. I basically needed a miracle. So, obviously what you're seeing on screen right now is the layout for the games for week 12. So, for this scenario, the first thing I needed was, of course, to beat Seabad and his Detroit Steel Wings, which, as you can see by the result that just popped into existence, I managed to do. A 3-0 is alright. Honestly, I could have probably won by more. Ideally, I should have won by more, which would have bettered my chances. But 3-0 was actually not bad. Honestly, any less, and I might have actually been in a worse position. 3-0 was a solid placement. So, with that said, with that 3-0 win, I put myself in a position where, basically, I needed every single team you now see highlighted in gold to win their game. Only one of them could afford to lose, because at least that way I would take 8th place, pending how everything fell into the remaining slots. But if all of them lost, I would have actually ended up with a 7th seed, which would have been mind-blowing in and of itself. But for at least the minimum of 8th seed, I needed at least one of these teams, all but one of these teams, to win, basically. I could afford one of them to lose. Yeah, you can see why it's kind of obvious I needed a miracle here, because I basically needed just about every result this week to fall my way. And yet, somehow, against all odds, that is exactly what happened. D-Ray did end up losing to JB, so JB ended up taking the 7th seed. But aside from that, Jorge lost, Olivia lost, Shay lost, Gray lost, Steve lost. I still can't believe that actually happened. The differential actually didn't really matter. I just needed them to lose pretty much, because by then their differential would have been knocked lower than where mine was sitting at, so I would have been able to win on that. And somehow it actually happened. I am at a loss for words that this is what happened and this is where we stand now. Because, against all odds, my Columbus Swoo are sitting here in playoffs for BBR right now. We should not be here. I was fully content with accepting that I at least ended the season with a win, so I at least could go out on a high note, and then that being the end of it. And yet, the season rolls on. I do apologize to everyone that was unable to make playoffs. That playoff race at the very end was so tight, and I am still stunned that the team with the longest shot, yours truly, got the exact scenario he needed. That still just blows my mind that it actually happened, because if you'd have told me this would have actually happened, I wouldn't have believed you without seeing it for myself. Regardless, we are here in playoffs. We are the 8th seed, which of course does come with a problem as we switch over to my chalkboard now. That problem being that we have to face the number 1 seed, the new Britain Rockruff, coached by DyeItTight. And plain and simple, Dye has been virtually unstoppable all season long. He has a nasty team. He knows how to use it. he basically blew everyone out of the water to get that number 1 seed, so we certainly have our work cut out for us. His roster will be appearing off to the right about now. His team consists of the following: Corviknight, Hydreigon, Excelgor, Mienshao, Seismitoad, Galarian Weezing, Lycanroc Midday, Alolan Marowak, Kangaskhan, and Leafeon. Lots of problems here. I don't think that needs to be stated. Not gonna lie, I am almost positive that Corviknight, Galarian Weezing, and Alolan Marowak are coming. If not all 3, then some combination of them. Because those 3 basically shut down Rillaboom. And as apparently has become the running theme, if you have something that shuts down Rillaboom, you're going to bring it against me. That's pretty much a given at this point. I think it's fairly obvious at this point that Rillaboom is my biggest threat in most scenarios. Hydreigon I would not be surprised to see come because that dragon is just always a pain in my ass. I wouldn't be surprised to see Excelgor come too, just because, well, it kinda can't take Grassy Glides from Rillaboom. That thing's Bug Stab is just a problem in general for a good chunk of my team. I'm not expecting to see Seismitoad because Rillaboom period, basically. I mean, it would stop me from potentially doing something like, say, Volt Switching all over him with Magnezone, but the mere presence of Rillaboom is kind of a problem unless he's bringing a Rindo Berry. Mienshao! I'm kind of half and half on that one, to be quite frank. I wouldn't be surprised if he brings Mienshao because that thing is the league kill leader. Somehow Dye managed to get 20 kills with it this season, which is stunning in and of itself that a Mienshao of all things was that destructive. But on the other hand, unless he's running a purely physical bulky one, Mienshao cannot eat a Grassy Glide from Rillaboom, period. So I am quite curious to see how he plays that. There are at least 3 months here that I'm almost 100% certain he's going to bring. Everything else, I have some ideas, but for the most part it's kind of a toss-up. So let's go ahead and get into my team, shall we? And see how I plan to hopefully try to dethrone the number 1 seed and be able to somehow keep the Cinderella story going for another chapter at least. And of course, we're going to start off with Neopert, because why wouldn't we at this point? Pretty straightforward idea here. SD3 attacks, knockoff and U-turn are really more for utility and pivoting. I think pivoting is actually going to be kind of big for me in this game, which is why I really wanted U-turn on Rillaboom. Knockoff for getting rid of items, Grassy Glide, why would I not run it at this point? Sword Stance to boost my attack, because if I can get up to +2, there is very little on his team that actually really wants to take a hit from Rillaboom, especially since I'm going at him at max attack. Life Orb allows me not only the damage boost, but also the ability to switch up my moves, which just, I think, works ideally for this game. I don't want to really be locked into anything, especially considering the options he has for trying to stand in Rillaboom's way. Fairly standard spread, because, again, as kind of been the norm, Rillaboom's in this weird spot where EVs don't really make a loaded difference as far as speed and all that is concerned. And anything that does outspeed me is pretty much going to be eating a Grassy Glide anyway, as long as I got my terrain up. Next on the docket, we have Entrapta the Magnezone, who finally got to show her true potential last week, to some degree, and broke this curse of me losing a game every time she came. And I want to keep this going, because Entrapta certainly deserves a lot more than the lot she's been given this season so far. I am actually kind of pulling a different stunt this week. I've pretty much run for the most part, the same Magnezone throughout the season, and it's about time I switch things up a bit. I'm bringing the Choice Scarf Magnezone to this game. The 236 speed EVs give me just enough speed to be able to outpace Jolly Max Speed Lycanroc, assuming it's not, it doesn't have Sand Rush active. As for why that might be the case, we'll get to that soon enough. Thunderbolt, Flash Cannon, Volt Switch, and Body Press pretty much covers everything. The 20 defense EVs give a little bit of extra oomph to Body Press. Otherwise, the main idea is basically just T-Bolt and Flash Cannon for powerful stab. Volt Switch allows me to stab and pivot out. I have Magnet Pull because of Corviknight. I wouldn't be surprised if he runs Shed Shell on that thing to try to make sure that it's not Magnezone food. But otherwise, if that's not the case, then Corvi is basically dead meat, and Entrapta gets a free kill there, and is able to kind of just work with wherever we're at, depending what else he's got. Moving down the line, we have Ray Phoenix the Hawlucha, who has been fairly hit or miss in the regular season. Maybe playoffs will be the time where it gets to consistently shine. You know the drill by now. Grassy Seed, Unburden. The 220 speed EVs with an Adamant Nature are there to... Maybe I kind of did a little bit of additional speed creeping that was unnecessary, but I was kind of trying to balance things out with my defense EVs. But basically, it's there to deal with the likes of a potential Scarf Excelgor, and at least an Adamant Sandrush Lycanroc, because if he runs Jolly, then there's no way an Adamant Hawlucha is going to outrun it, even with Unburden. And I would prefer Adamant for this game for the extra power. SD3 attacks, Acrobatics and Close Combat are kind of the norm. Zen Headbutt's there for the likes of Galarian Weezing. So I think you know what Hawlucha is capable of at this point. I don't think much more needs to be said there. Moving down the line, we have Empathy the Hatterene. You know this set by now. It's my usual spread with this thing. Trick Room, 3 attacks. I got Leftovers to be able to recover HP because honestly, Hat actually doesn't need the additional power this week, which is rare for me to say. But being able to recover HP after taking hits would certainly be appreciated. Magic Bounce to reflect non-damaging moves, of course. Psychic and Dazzling Gleam are stab. It might seem odd I'm running both, considering that Psychic pretty much covers Mienshao and Galarian Weezing anyway, so what use would I really have for D-Gleam? But of course, there is the fact that Hydreigon exists. If he brings Hydreigon, I want a way to be able to hit it, because obviously, with D-Gleam, Hydreigon is history. I would need a Trick Room up, of course, but for my last slot, I was actually a bit iffy on what I wanted to run here, and I ultimately decided on Giga Drain, because I thought Giga Drain had the most utility because of what it can do to Lycanroc Midday and Seismitoad. Everything else pretty much drops to a Psychic for the most part anyway, or D-Gleam in the case of Hydreigon. I am aware this does leave me with very little in the way of actually touching Corviknight, depending what kind of Corvi he brings. But I'm perfectly fine with this, because I have run into the scenario with Hatterene on my roster of Mirror Armor Corviknight way too much. I'm not walking into that trap this time. As much as Mystical Fire would be nice to really pop Corvi, I would rather not eat the special attack drops. So I'm perfectly content with this, just because I have other options to be able to deal with Corviknight, namely Entrapta. Moving down the list, we also have the Ruin coming back. This Tentacruel has really proven its worth this season, and I was honestly not expecting that. Tentacruel has certainly made a name for itself, and I think I've fallen in love with this mon now. And we're going to keep that train rolling in this game, of course. Black Sludge and Clear Body, kind of my norm throughout the season. Why else at this point? The 244 speed with a Timid Nature is to outrun Hydreigon, so I can pop the thing with a Dazzling Gleam and do, not quite kill it, but do a lot of damage to it, especially since I can take a hit from it because Tentacruel is naturally especially bulky. Beyond that, I tried to find the perfect balance of HP and physical defense investment to be able to eat all the hits I would need to and do what Tentacruel needs to do, which is basically spin hazards away and otherwise be an annoying tank. Scald and Sludge Bomb are the norm. Dazzling Gleam, as I said, is for Hydreigon. To a lesser degree, Mienshao. And last but not least, I am once again summoning Dragonzord. Basic special defensive Stealth Rock 3 attack set with Leftovers. Rock Slide is stab and is for just decimating the likes of Excelgor, Alola Marowak. Can pop Corviknight pretty well too. Iron Head and Superpower are there really for coverage. Iron Head more so for the likes of Galarian Weezing, because I could see him trying to bring Galarian Weezing in on T-Tar. And that allows me to also not have to worry about a ground move, because I'm almost 100% certain he's going to run Levitate on Weezing to be able to try to get around a potential high horsepower Rillaboom, which I would not be surprised at. And Superpower does big damage to the likes of Kangaskhan and Hydreigon. Basically, T-Tar's here to set up rocks, eat special hits, and just make things work. So, that is going to be the team. Not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous because I have not had the best track record in playoffs. I do have 2 championships to my name, but that's about it. I know a lot of other coaches have far more to their name. Also, my track record with Wi-Fi playoffs has certainly not been stellar, to say the least, for the most part. But maybe we can make this work. Maybe we can upset Dye and be able to keep the Cinderella run alive. So, that said, I will see you guys when it's battle time. Alright, it is playoff time. Let's see if my Swoo can somehow keep the Miracles alive against, quite frankly, the one person who's been virtually unstoppable all season. Can we beat DyeItTight? Let's find out. Alright, let's see what he is bringing to this little dance. He is bringing Corviknight, which is of absolutely no surprise to me. Mienshao, interesting. Alolan Marowak, Galarian Weezing, Seismitoad, and Lycanroc. Okay. Little surprised by some of these. Marowak, Weezing, and Corviknight were absolutely no surprise because they completely shut down Rillaboom, and to some degree Hawlucha as well. Seismitoad and Mienshao are a little surprising. I know Mienshao is his kill leader on the season and the league kill leader, but so long as I have Rillaboom and Grassy Glide, Mienshao basically is a non-factor, unless he's running a super physically bulky one. Lycanroc, kind of half and half on that, honestly. I think I'm going to lead the Ruin, actually. I know I should probably lead Neopert, but honestly, considering how often I've led with it this season, I really don't expect him to lead something like Seismitoad. I would expect him to lead something that's more designed to actually counter Rillaboom right out of the gate. So we'll see how this plays out then. This at least allows me to be able to see exactly how he wants to lead this. And then I'm a little surprised to not see Hydreigon, actually, now that I think about it. Good luck, have fun, Dye. May the best team win. As he's just going to lead straight up with the Mienshao. Which is interesting. So I get to find out exactly what this thing is right out of the gate. I would not put it past him to be Scarfed and just U-turn out for chip damage. He could also knock off to get rid of my, Black Sludge. Honestly, I want to say Sludge. I want to go Sludge Bomb, maybe? Let me double check something real quick. Yeah, I've got no problem going Sludge Bomb. It does a decent amount of damage to this Mienshao, depending what it is. I'm not scalding into a Water Absorb Seismitoad, which, yeah, he's just going to U-turn, which is fine with me. That did quite a bit. He's Life Orb! That's why. Life Orb Mienshao. Good to know. So, Corby would be the only thing I really don't want to see right now. I had a feeling it was going to be Seismitoad. This is exactly why I didn't decide to Scald. So I'm going to be able to hit this thing with a Sludge Bomb. And I do get the Poison. That is the partial benefit to me doing exactly what I did. And he is Leftovers in this thing, which is really good to know. Because with no Rindo Berry, this thing is effectively Rillaboom food. If and when I want to pull the trigger on that. For the time being, however, I could go Neopert, but honestly, I think I'm just going to Dazzling Gleam. Dazzling Gleam should do more to this thing than Sludge Bomb. I've already got the poison from Sludge Bomb, which is nice. He's just going to switch straight out, which is fine with me, into Corviknight. Fine. So this Dazzling Gleam's not going to do as much, and I do reveal Dazzling Gleam to him, which, to be fair, that was primarily for Hydreigon anyway. So I'm not that concerned with it. Now, at this point, he could easily just kind of flip-flop on me here. But I think I'm going to go into Dragon Zord right now. Try and get my rocks up and see how he wants to play this. I'm a little wary of the Lycanroc just because it could and maybe does have Sand Rush. But to be fair, Sand Rush is only extremely viable to him. Mostly for trying to outspeed either my Scarf Magnezone. He's going to bulk up. This thing definitely has Body Press. I would not be surprised on that one right about now. So if he does have Body Press... Oops, I am kind of cutting this on the wrong mon. If he has Body Press, T-Tar is most certainly dead. I guess to that degree, then? I guess I'll kind of go back into the Ruin. Kind of seems odd, but I want to see how he wants to play this, because on one hand, it's easy to potentially bait the Skull onto Seismitoad. Well, Seismitoad, I actually switched straight out. Yeah, he's just going to go Body Press, which is what I figured was going to happen. The Ruin can kind of take that. And we shall go from here, as I'm just going to proceed to Scald. Maybe potentially get a burn on this thing. If he goes into Seismitoad, I have no problem with that. Nope, he's just going to leave this thing in. So, decent amount of Scald chips. This thing I think is a little more physically bulky. Or maybe it's more physically offensive, possibly? That Brave Bird did quite a bit, and I'm going to end up losing the Ruin to Sand. Which... on one hand, yeah, that sucks. On the other, though... considering I know he has Body Press... actually, I didn't see any... I see a potential opportunity here. I want to go into Entrapta. I feel like I can test this. Because I would not be surprised if this Corviknight, considering I've seen no sign of leftovers to my knowledge, or if it was there, I haven't been paying attention anyway. But if he has Shed Skin, he can definitely go into Seismitoad here. I'm going to Volt Switch. Because it should kill this thing if he's not able to get it out of here. Yep, he does have Shed Shell. I had a feeling as such. Oh, that is a... he's running the Lightning Rod Marowak. Okay, that's definitely a bit of a problem. So I'm Scarf, so I definitely need to get out of here. I would not be surprised for an Earthquake to come. I kind of have to go Dragon Zord here. Dragon Zord, I think, is probably my least useful member at this point in time. Kind of see how he wants to play this. I would not be surprised if an Earthquake comes. No, he's going to go flip. Oh. Oh. Oh, dear. Okay, that's actually a bit of a problem. That is a bit of a problem. Okay, this Marowak has suddenly become an issue. I'm gonna go ahead and Rock Slide, see how he wants to play this, because he's gonna need more than one flame charge for sure. He's gonna low kick in. There goes T-Tar. Yeah. Okay, so that kind of sucks. And is a bit of a problem. You are very much a problem right now. He is completely... Yeah, this would be a case where a Jolly Rillaboom would have actually been the smarter call. Ugh. Okay, trying to figure out my way out of this one, which is unfortunately... I'm gonna send out Neopert just so I've got my grassy terrain. I mean, if he has Flame Charge... If Flame Charge is all he has, then I think I should actually... Well... No, I'm not even living a Flame Charge. No way in hell. I really don't want to throw Neopert away like this, but at the same time... Ugh. I think I'm going to let Entrapta go. Yeah, this is kind of turning into a beatdown, which I'm not that surprised because, to be fair, Dye's been pretty unstoppable during the season for a reason, and he switched? Well, I'm surprised by that. That was a rather interesting turn of events that just happened. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. And on that note, I'm just gonna Flash Cannon. Because it definitely threatens this thing. Probably might kill it depending on... If he goes back into Alola... Nope, he's gonna go into Seismitoad this time. Which is completely fine with me. Because this is still some damage off on this thing, which is absolutely better than nothing. And I kind of want to see something really quick here. How many turns of terrain do I have left? I have 3. Do I dare try this? Yeah, I'm gonna go into Empathy right now. I see no reason not to. I think with Empathy, if I can get a, Trick Room up, I might actually be in a very good spot here. And he's gonna set up his... Actually, no, my Magic Bound's gonna reflect the rocks! So... Not exactly what I intended, but it certainly works out. And it's going to make what I do next very, very interesting. I would not be surprised if he goes straight into Corby here. Which is honestly fine. I'm going to go ahead and set up a Trick Room and then start trying to work from there. He does, in fact, have Sludge Wave. Fair enough. And I don't take that as well as I thought I would. So this thing's definitely got a bit more offensive presence to it, to say the least. Which is fine. I'll get Leftovers back. I will get my, I get Stealth Rock, or sorry, I get Leftovers and Grassy Terrain. We're going to go through the whole song and dance with him getting Terrain and Leftovers, as well as getting hurt by the poison. which is all perfectly fine, honestly. And I'm just going to go ahead and Giga Drain. If he switches into Corvi, that's fine. I still get a Grassy Terrain boost on the hit. If he leaves this thing in, then this thing is definitely history. And that means he is without rocks. Yep, that is going to be the end of Seismitoad. So I will most certainly take that. That is one less problem for Entrapta, for sure. Empathy's back to full. I saw my Trick Room in full effect. There goes the Grassy Terrain, but that is honestly fine. I'm half expecting Corvi to come out. Because unless an Alola Marowak is running, he's gonna go Alola Marowak. Interesting. And I do not see anything resembling Room Service on this thing. Well, to be fair, considering he ran Flame Charge, that does not surprise me. Honestly, from this range, unless he's got a lot of Special Bulk on this thing, this Marowak should die to a Psychic. I wonder if he's remembering that I had Trick Room up. That is the end of Dry Bones. And plus side, that is also the end of everything that basically stops Entrapta from Volt Switching all over this team, or just locking itself into Thunderbolt. So, I think Hat just turned the tide of this game in a big way. Here comes Lycanroc, which is honestly fine. How many turns of Trick Room do I have left? I have 2. And after Rocks, this thing should actually die to a Giga Drain. So if he's going to Excel Rock to get around my Trick Room, which he's not, I'm going to be able to kill this thing with a Giga Drain. Hatterene has single-handedly turned the tide of this entire game. That is impressive to me. I want to think by this point he knows what my last... I mean, granted, in retrospect, maybe there was no real need for... Well, no, I needed Dazzling Gleam because of Hydreigon. He had to have thought that. And now Corviknight is going to come into play. I am legitimately surprised he didn't send this thing in much sooner. Regardless, I'm going to Psychic this thing because it's the best move I got to hit it, and at this point, it's... I mean, he's probably going to Roost. Psychic shouldn't be doing a whole lot. And he's going to switch again. Into Mienshao. I am legitimately curious as to what he's pulling here, not going to lie. That's the end of Mienshao, which actually did not do anything. That's going to be the end of my Trick Room. I could think of 2 possibilities. Either he was trying to stall out my Trick Room, which is very possible. Though, I don't know at this point. I legitimately am at a loss for words as to how on earth this played out. I'm just going to straight up go for a Psychic again, because I have no reason to reset Trick Room at this point. He's going to go ahead and Roost now. I had a feeling. I am legitimately curious because Hat effectively turned this whole game around. Alright. In that regard, I'm going to Entrapta now, because there is absolutely nothing stopping me from pretty much having Entrapta do Entrapta shenanigans. Let's see. If he goes into Galarian Weezing, I can pop that thing with a Volt Switch fairly nicely. He doesn't have any boosts. He just goes straight for the Body Press, so he actually called the switch, which is smart on his part, and that does a ton. He's definitely more physically invested. Even still, I'm just going to go ahead and go for the Thunderbolt, because it's going to take a huge chunk out of Galarian Weezing regardless. And it should definitely kill this thing. Yep, that is the end of it. That is the end of Corviknight. So all that remains now is Galarian Weezing. I'm not gonna lie, I am legitimately stunned. I'm curious to hear his rationale on this. Because this did not play out anywhere close to how I thought it was going to. I mean, I would assume this thing has Flamethrower. I can definitely kill it with a Flash Cannon for sure. I'm just gonna go to Empathy because I can at this point. I mean, might as well let Empathy complete its parade of mass destruction at this point. Yeah, there's Flamethrower. Which Hat's gonna be able to take. I can definitely live a Sludge Bomb from this range. Pending the investment this thing has, which I don't think should... Well, even still, if he's more physically or especially offensive, I'm gonna fire off a Psychic, and Hat basically got 5 kills this game. Which is mind-blowing to me that Hat is what turned this whole thing around. So, that is going to do it! The Miracle Run rolls on, apparently! GG, Dye! Though I am legitimately curious to your rationale as to how that played out, because that game completely turned around in a heartbeat in a way I was certainly not expecting. So, I apologize to all of those who were betting on the heavy favorite, but, maybe don't count out the Cinderella story just yet? That's all I can say. GG again, Dye. Thank you guys so very much for watching. I have been Ruppy, and I will see you guys next time. The Cinderella run lives on. Take care.